So, yeah, hi team. Welcome to the session of Cloud Basics with Azure. So, before starting the session, people outside Bangalore team, let me introduce myself. So, I'm Sanat. I work in Bangalore team for a team F. So, today's session will be basically on Cloud Basics with Azure Fundamental. So, this is a very basic session which will concentrate on the targeted audience would be a beginners. So people who do not know about cloud need not worry about this, and people who have already experience on Azure and cloud, this session might be a bit boring. So if you have already joined the session, please bear with me. Let's brush up our skills. Okay. So thank you. So, yeah, this will be the agenda for session today. We'll go through what is the cloud computing, benefits of cloud computing, types of cloud services, types of cloud deployments, and we'll step into what is Azure, and we'll see who are the leading cloud providers in the market now, and we'll see what is ARM and what is ASM, and also what we'll go through the overview of app service, which is a platform as a service offering from Azure, and I'll go through the demo of deploying a web app to Azure in different ways. Okay, so let's start with the first topic. That's what is cloud computing. So, oh, yes, sorry for interruption. So, Team Bangalore team, if anyone is joining, please join from small hall. The meeting has reached already full. Okay.
Otherwise, the discussion room one is also booked. Guys can also join from the discussion room and as well from Bangalore.
Okay. Cool. Thank you, Peter. Okay. So,
And
before,
sorry, if
yeah,
other officers also can manage to join into some conference room, it will be great.
yeah. Thank you, Sajid. So, team, let's continue with our session. So, today's session topic is what is cloud computing. So before starting the cloud computing, let me tell you about the counterpart of it, that is on-premises data center. So on-premises data center is that something that our data center residing in within our organization, where our infrastructure team is looking after it, managing it, which has a proper server room, proper network connectivity, proper cooling. Everything is maintained from us, and the counterpart of it is cloud computing. So cloud computing is not something like new. It has been from past a decade. If you're using Gmail, Skype, PayPal, and all. So the idea behind cloud computing is something that you do not worry about what is your happening behind. Okay, you just request a service, you get through over the internet. That is a cloud. So cloud computing is nothing but getting the computing service like server, storage, database, networking through the internet, which is called cloud computing. And companies offering or providing these kind of services are called as a cloud providers. Typically, they will be charging you based on the consumption or usage, which will be similarly to the electricity or water bill at your homes. So there are different cloud providers charge you differently. Like AWS charges you based on per hour basis. Azure charges you per minute basis. So billing might slightly differ, but cloud companies does providing you services through the internet. So remember this point. So why people go through cloud computing? So basically to host your web applications, to host your blogs, or to store your data. So these are the usages of the cloud computing. So coming to the benefits of the cloud computing. So these are the benefits of cloud computing: cost, speed, global scale, productivity, performance, and reliability. So I've been hearing from many people that Azure, AWS is too much costly. Guys, please think about the on-premises data center when comparing to cost. So on-premises data center may cost you racks, spaces, servers, server room, proper cooling, network. When you compare all this criteria with the cloud, you just get something over the internet with just few button clicks, and that is when you compare this cost with the cloud providers, it's a very minimal. So greater than. And the speed you get if you want to. I'll give you the example. Like if you want to extend your RAM to your on-premises data center, you need to buy a proper RAM and you need to fit up, and that takes very much time, which makes less productive. So when you compare that speed, obviously cloud computing is better. And a global scale, you can replicate your application anywhere in the globe with your application. And the productivity, yeah, planning a data center might take you lots of time and proper planning for that. So productivity compared to on-premises and cloud computing has a greater. And a performance. So performance, cloud computing, you buy something over the internet which you don't know where it actually resides. So you don't know what is the hardware, but cloud computing offers you the latest hardware and it upgrades you to in a timely manner. And reliability, coming to reliability, you have a lots of features like disaster recovery and all. So in cloud computing, few providers provide you that as a free. So those are the benefits of cloud computing. So coming to what are cloud services, types of cloud services. So these are three types of cloud services. You may have heard about this earlier. So these are also called as flavors of cloud. That is IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. So IaaS stands for infrastructure as a service, PaaS stands for platform as a service, SaaS stands for software as a service. So these are generally IaaS where you need to worry about hosting of your application. PaaS, you just need to concentrate on building of your application. In a SaaS, you need to just consume an application which is provided by a cloud provider. So to make a better understanding of this, let's see this slide where you can differentiate between the different cloud services and also the on-premises data center. When you see this slide in the on-premises data center, you can see that networking, storage, servers, virtualization, entire data center is managed in your on-premises data center with your infrastructure team. So when you come to IaaS, so virtualization, server, storage, and networking is managed by the cloud provider. In this slide, I've shown it as a Microsoft. So when you come to the platform as a service, you can just need to concentrate on applications and data. Rest everything is managed by your cloud provider. Software as a service, everything is provided by a cloud provider. I just need to consume. So for a software as a service, the best example would be Office 365 or Gmail. You just use the service provided by them. So this is the cloud services, and I just have a few slides to. So sorry, I got broke. Okay, so to understand this infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service, I've collected few images to make you better understand. So when you can compare the infrastructure as a service with your construction of a house, so infrastructure as a service provides you a land to build your application and host your application. Platform as a service provides you a platform with a land. You just need to worry to build out your house. Whereas software as a service provides you an entire house just to get in. So to make you a better understanding of this, I just corrected this line so that you could remember it. So we'll step into what are the cloud deployments. So these are the three types of cloud deployments which are available. There's a public, private, and a hybrid. So public cloud is nothing but it is accessible to everyone. So to give an example, our Euromonitor can also access by that public cloud, and other companies might buy that public cloud. Whereas when you come to a private cloud, it is dedicated only for you. The entire data center is dedicated only for you. It might be within your premises, or it might be somewhere, but it will be provided with your dedicated internet line behind the firewall. So hybrid cloud is nothing but the mixture of both public and a private. So hybrid cloud is also called as a cloud bursting, where generally it is basically a public private cloud with the feasibility or to extend to the public cloud. So this is these are the three types of a cloud deployments. In the same way, I'm going to give you the example with a better understanding. So public cloud is like a hotel where anyone who has can step in and check in there. So private cloud is your home. We have only you can reside there. So any idea of anyone about a hybrid cloud? Okay. So hybrid cloud, as I said, it's nothing but a private cloud with an feasibility to extend to a public cloud. It's generally a paying guest where you extend your home. So this was the three types of a cloud deployment. So coming to Microsoft Azure. So as I said that there are few cloud providers providing the services or features of a cloud computing over the internet. So Microsoft Azure is one among them. It's a cloud computing platform. It has a large collection of cloud services, computing databases, which helps in saving our money. So like Microsoft Azure, there are a few other cloud providers like AWS and all. So Microsoft Azure was started at 2010, which was initially a Windows Azure. Then later it was named to Microsoft Azure. So this is a footprint of Azure. Azure is already in 36 regions and 4 additional regions coming soon. In India, it is West India, Central India, and South India. UK, it is UK South and UK West, and which is also extending in South Africa. It is coming in North and West regions soon. So this is a global Azure regions. So through Azure is also started as open source support where you can get client tools, SDKs, framework, and this link that is azure.github.io. You can get a lots of templates and to create your virtual machines and all with a PowerShell. So this is the first time after a decade Microsoft started providing the open source support. So this is it has extended its support in open source projects also. So before the Microsoft current CEO, that's Satya Nadella, so there was a ex-CEO called Steve Ballmer. So as initially said that Linux or open source was like a cancer for them. Okay, and they were suing with Linux with lots of patents and issues. But when Satya Nadella was taken charge as a Microsoft CEO, there's lots of transition happened where the CEO himself presented the slide to the great audience saying that Microsoft loves Linux. So it was openly CEO expressing his love towards open source project. So Satya Nadella was a greater, rather than a CEO, is a greater entrepreneur who instead of suing his enemy, made a business out of his enemy. So you can get a Linux servers with the Linux VMs in Azure. And soon you may expect SQL Server with Linux, which is under progress. I think preview is already available for us. So, and this is a Microsoft data center infrastructure. So it will be similar to this images shown here. And the center image which you're seeing on this ocean is Microsoft's project Natic, where Microsoft is planning its data center under the ocean so that to eliminate a cost of cooling. So if anyone is interested to look about that, you can go to Microsoft site and type a project Natic and you have a beautiful video on that. Sure. So these are a few leading cloud providers in the market now. There's Amazon Web Services, Microsoft, Google Cloud Platform, IBM Bluemix, Oracle Cloud, VMware, Rackspace. So currently EMI is under Rackspace. So there are lots of cloud wars going on. Who's greater in this, or who is big, who is leading in this? I don't want to comment on that, but I'll just give you some overview of the two leading cloud providers, that is Amazon Web Services and Microsoft Azure. So Amazon Web Services was started in 2006 with file storage, and it extended its services to the computing services, providing storage and all. So basically, it is a public cloud where it was started with the infrastructure as a service services, whereas Microsoft was started in 2010, 4 years later than AWS. So Microsoft started with the platform as a service, and Amazon Web Services as a public cloud. It doesn't have a private cloud, and Microsoft recently started a Azure Stack, which is a private cloud where you can have your own data center with the Azure Preview or Azure portal, which will be similar to the portal what you see. And Amazon Web Services is trying to bring a platform as a service, whereas Microsoft Azure has already have started with the platform as a service, and they have a software as a service feature with the Office 365 and infrastructure as a service also. But the major contribution with Microsoft Azure is with the 60% of people who are using Azure are using the platform as a service feature, and major contribution for IaaS is Amazon Web Services. So you can just have a differences among this, but choosing a cloud platform would be very difficult. You need to go through pricing tier, and Amazon Web Services, as I told you, it charges you basis on per hour basis, but whereas Microsoft Azure charges with you per minute basis. So these are few of the comparisons of AWS and Azure. So coming to Azure, you have two portals of Azure, that is ASM and ARM. ASM stands for Azure Service Management, and ARM stands for Azure Research Manager. So ASM is also called as a classic portal, and ARM is called as a new Azure portal where everything is managed called the resources. So below is the link for old portal and the new portal. This is so just this was major drawback of Microsoft, that without even migrating the old portal to the new portal was released. So soon everyone will be starting using a new portal instead of old portal. It is getting migrated step by step. So that's what. So these are the offerings from Azure. That is a platform. As I said, this is old slide where you can see web and mobile. This is an entire app service now. So platform as a service offerings are compute, where we have a cloud services and service fabric. This web and mobile is right now named to as Azure App Service, where you have web apps, API apps, mobile apps, and logic apps. And in analytics, you have HD site and machine learning. Similarly, in infrastructure, you have virtual machines, containers, and for storage, you have blob storage, Azure files, and premium storage. So today we'll concentrate on this platform as a service feature, app service, where we'll concentrate on web apps. So Azure App Service is one of the platform as a service offering from Microsoft Azure. So initially there were Azure websites, Azure mobile sites. So it was logic apps and API apps were not even introduced during that time. So my, when I say the word web apps and mobile apps, logic apps, API apps, it's nothing but web hosting, mobile hosting, logic apps hosting, and API apps hosting. So initially there was different uh, categories for a website hosting and mobile apps. So around 2015, Azure came up with a feature called Azure App Service, a single point of contact for hosting all those four apps, that is web app, mobile app, and logic apps. So this is one of the platform as a service offering from Azure, where it has made easier for people to host their applications. So web apps supported frameworks are .NET, PHP, Node.js, Python, and Java. So you can host these many applications with us. I'll be going through the demo of Azure portal after this slide. So these are the demo items which I'll be covering. So if anyone has a laptop, you can parallelly deploy with me. Else you can just go through what I'll be doing. So we'll just start with an Azure portal overview. So as I already told you, there are two portals for Azure. One is a classic portal, that is manage.windowsazure.com, and the other one is new portal, that is portal.azure.com. So basically everything is going to soon migrate to a new portal, so we'll use a new portal on this demo. So the left panel is a material design which you can see, and the features which are available here, these are all called as a resources, dashboard, resource group, app services. And if you don't find anything over here which you require, you can go to the more services at the bottom, and you can make it as a favorite so that you can get here. And there's a search bar just like Elasticsearch in a passport, so whatever you need you can search here, you'll be listed and you can get. So there's a notification bar over here, and you can change the themes with a setting icon. And to view your bill, you just click on your name and you can go through it. So this is overview of our portal, Azure portal. So we'll deploy an web application to an Azure portal with our Visual Studio 2017. So that first thing we need to do is we need to create a resource group. So the UI which you see here when I click on the new one is called as a blade in Azure. So difference between old portal and new portal is also this one, that new portal came up with an fantastic UI with blades and resource groups. So we'll first create a resource group. So I have already one resource group, so let me delete this. I'll create a fresh resource group for today's demo. I've just gone to the resource group and I'll click on add, and I need to give my resource group demo Azure August 7th. So I'll choose a region which is nearest to us. So I'll choose South India, which is nearest to me, and I'll click on create. So my resource group is under creation, you can see here created. So resource group was already created. Resource group is nothing but a container, or I can say like it is a folder where you can store your files. So when you want to delete, update, or audit something, you can just go through this folder and delete and adding. So I've created a resource group here, and the next thing is to do is I need where my infrastructure needs to be hosted. That is app service plan. App service plan is nothing but my selecting my infrastructure and a pricing tag. So you can see I search for app service plan, and app service plan is listed over here. Click on this and I'm adding an app service plan. So I'll give a name as service plan August 7th. So this is my subscription. So resource group, I'll use the existing one which I just created. So that is the Mozilla resource group. Let my operating system be Windows, and let me select my region as South India. And you can see this pricing tier of the app service plan. So pricing tier is divided into standard, premium, and basic, and small, large, and extra large feature. So basic one, you get 1 core and 1.75 GB RAM. And when you see small, large, and extra large, basically RAM gets increases. And when you compare a pricing tier with the basic, standard, and the premium one, the features like storage, custom domain, instances, backups, and slots get increases. So for this demo, let me choose this standard one. So you can see that amount for standard one is 2950 per month. So this will be calculated per minute on based on my consumption. So for this today's demo, I'll select standard one S1, and I'll create an. Okay, so I have used a special space. Yeah. So I'm creating a service plan. For meanwhile, my service plan getting created, let me open my Visual Studio and create a simple web application. So we just started this web application and creating a new project and creating a web application as .NET application. Okay. So I'll select Embassy application. So my application is getting created. Let's see whether app service got created or not. App service. Yeah. So when I refresh this place, you can see that my app service plan is already created with the pricing tier standard one, and the resource group is demo as one. Okay. So right now we'll deploy our web application using that app service plan and that resource group. So I'll be deploying the same application with a multiple ways. So to differentiate that, I'll change our index page to identify. Okay, so I'll be removing this. Uh, so I'll be just changing this name as okay. So I'm publishing this app. So we can see Visual Studio provides you an integrated hosting plan, that is, it has integrated with your Microsoft App Service. So I'll create new, and I click on publish. It's get my credentials. So since I've already logged in, so this is my subscription details, and I can give this web app name. That will be the basically URL right now. So I'll give Azure demo 7 August. So this is a resource group which I created. You can create a resource group and a service plan from here as well. So when I click on create, the web app starts deploying to the Azure portal. So just bear with a minute to deploy. Okay, so it is preparing to publish. You can see in the output window and a URL on the summary bar here. So this will be the URL of our application which we have hosted. You can see it has opened in a new window. You can notice the URL. This is a URL which we gave while publishing our application. Yeah, so this is our application which we hosted from our portal. So this is a basic application which we did, but Azure App Service has one of the fantastic feature called a deployment slots. So when I choose here, when you click on this one, a new blade opens up with features available. So there's a feature called a deployment slot. Deployment is slot, it's nothing but an replication of your application. So whatever the application which goes to production first, that will be in the staging. So to validate the production changes before staging, instead of creating a new application, there is a provision with Azure called a deployment slots, where you can create a deployment slot called staging, and you can publish your application to that. Then you can swap it to the production. And when you creating a pricing tier, this was Azure provides you a free deployment slot, whereas AWS charge for doing that. So let me add one slot called as staging, and I'll clone the configuration from the app service which I already created. So our deployment slot is getting created. So let's wait for this, and meanwhile, to differentiate the app which I published, I'll be publishing the same app, so I'll just rename the app to staging, so that to differentiate this. Yeah, our deployment slot has been created. Now I'll publish this to deployment slot. So I'll come to publish. I'll create a new profile and I'll select the existing one. So within my resource group, whatever present will be loaded in this window. So when I select this is my app service, and when I go to deployment slot, I think, yeah, this is staging deployment slot which we created. So when I click on staging and click on OK, so my deployment will be published to that slot. You can see the URL over here. The same URL with the staging or a name of a deployment slot will be listed here. So it is generally the same configuration of a web app with a different its own URL. So I've got published to deployment slot. So you can differentiate with the staging. Yeah, so you can see the difference between two which I've opened. This is an app service, Azure demo 7th August.azurewebsites.net, and you can see the other one as deployment slot, that is Azure demo 7th August with staging slot. So this is one of the great feature offering from Azure for free. So if we want to push our staging to a production, so it provides you an option to swap that production app to this one. So you can see here the swapping feature, source of the production, destination I'll select the staging. So when I click OK, the two apps will get swapped without any downtime, that is a zero downtime. And Azure App Service offers you a 99.95% of uptime with its SLA. So swapping is under progress. So let's wait. Yeah, swapping was completed. So when I refresh this particular production site, so I got a staging over here, and when I refresh the staging site, get a production site. So this everything happened with zero downtime, and yeah, and so this changes. Yeah. So next we'll publish the app through using a published profile. That's one of the other one. So instead of creating another app service, I'll just create another slot over here for a quick. Yeah. So basically, what happens behind the scenes when swapping an application is that it changes its virtual IP of an applications. So by default, whatever was working in staging should work in production. So creation of a deployment slot is in progress. Yeah, there's one more slot created over here. So when I look at the deployment slots, you can see there's one more slot created as a published profile. So published profile is nothing but a XML file which you get through your application. So instead of giving the credentials to someone to host your application, you can just give a published profile which has your credentials and your subscription details at the encrypted format. So I've downloaded this Azure published service profile. So let me just open so that you can see this XML. Yeah, you can see this XML file which has my subscription details, my credentials with that. So we'll deploy this with our Visual Studio using this publish profile. So again, to differentiate, I'll remove the staging and I'll give same as publish profile. So I'll right click, and when I click publish, so I'll create a new one, and now I'll select import profile. And I'll click on OK, and I'll select the file which I just now downloaded. That's Azure demo publish profile. So when I select this one, it automatically fetch the credential data and subscription edition. So you can see this URL over here, Azure demo 7th August published profile. So when I publish this, this is another method of publishing a web app through Visual Studio. So you can see that it got published, and URL with the deployment slot name. It's a published profile and app service URL. So let's wait till this. So yeah, you can see this is one of the deployment methods from a Visual Studio available. And there are other method like FTP, which you can do it, through a FileZilla or Windows SCP. So let me give you a brief overview of another feature of an Azure cloud, that is scaling in and scaling out of an application, scaling up and scaling down. So if we want to scale our application, we can just go through the portal. You can find you can find the scale up is nothing but changing your pricing tier from standard to premium or small, large, extra large feature. So within zero downtime you can change it. So when you compare this with on-premises, you get this with the mouse clicks with a beautiful UI. So scale out is nothing but increasing your app instances. So with our pricing tier we get 10 instances by default, so that with mouse click I can just scroll this and increase my application instances. And when I click on save, that got, and every instance is charged. So this one of the feature of okay. So we saw the publishing of our application through normal app servers, to a deployment slot, and to a publishing profile. So let's also see the publishing app through Git. So Azure has a integration for CI/CD stuff. So we'll, to differentiate this again, I'll rename this to Git, and I'll go to the folder. Yeah. So there are a few Git commands too. So I'll add a Git init. Okay. Git add hyphen all. Basically that's this files, and Git commit with a message. But, so my changes are committed. So let me create one of the deployment slot to deploy this with in a portal with Git. So I'll click on this app service. I'll go to the deployment slots and add one more slot for a Git. So I'll name it as Git, and I'll clone from my app service. So my deployment slot is under creation. So if Bangalore team anyone is doing parallelly with me, Shivraj, no, I've told this for Shivraj. Shivraj can help you guys in the small home. Okay, so deployment slot is already created. So I'll click on this deployment slot. So we'll get options of this particular deployment slot. You can see this naming here, get, and I'll go and give a deployment credentials as I'm deploying with Git for the first time. So I'll give git deploy as my username. I'll give password as you 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, so username is not available, so this should be unique. I'll give 7th August, so that will be, yeah. So I'll save this credentials. So when I go to overview of this particular deployment slot, I'll get a git URL here. So let me restart this. Yeah, I think, sorry, so I missed one step. So that is, you need to select deployment options. So these are the different types of sources you can deploy a web application to. So I'll select a local Git repository and I'll click on OK. Okay, so now when I go to overview of my deployment slot, I should be able to see a Git URL repository. Yeah, you can see here Git clone URL. So I'll click this copy. So my URL is copied. So now I'll add this remote repository to my local Git. And as you with this URL. So my as you, remote Git link and my local Git repository has been linked now. Now I'll push my changes. Here. Push to Azure master. My branch is master. So when I click this, I'll be prompted with the credentials. So this credentials is nothing but one which I gave here. Username is this one. I'll copy this username and I'll give the password what I had given for this. Okay. So when I give credentials, so my application starts deploying to the Azure portal. So we are deploying this application with a Git. Yeah, our application deployment to Git is in progress. So once it is deployed, we can click on this URL. Yeah, so you can see that deployment is successful. So when you see under the deployment options, you'll see the last commit changes. Yeah, this was a comment which I had given, and these are the changes which I published. So when I go to the overview and click on this URL, I should able to see the application. You can notice the URL. So this is the deployment slot with a Git. Yeah, so you can see this application we have deployed and web application using a Git. So these were a few of the different ways of deploying an application using a portal and also Visual Studio. So I'll show you for people a command line people who are not interested with the UI. You can also deploy an application with a partial script. So it is this. So I'll explain you this partial script. So we'll open the partial ISE. So I have already installed the Azure SDK for PowerShell, so I'm able to see this commands over here. So let me log into my portal using this. So you'll get an IntelliSense if you install that. So once I log in, I'll get a sign in message. So I'll sign in with my credentials. Okay. So yeah, you can see my environment and my account ID and my subscription details once signed in. So we'll copy this partial script and we'll paste it here. So we are defining our Git repository. So this is my personal Git repository. I have one of Node application on this. So I'll be deploying this application to the Azure portal. So I'm giving a web app name as Azure partial Node web app, and my location I've given as South India. So the first command over here is creating the resource group, what I showed you through the portal, and the next one is creating an app service plan. This is a command for creating an app service plan. I'm giving my pricing tier as a standard one with my location, and I'm creating a web app. I'm creating a deployment slot for this particular web app, and I'm giving the property of Git repo and my branch master here, and I'm swapping the staging deployment slot to the production with the last one. So when I press enter, you can see this. It starts creating a resource group. Resource group creation has been succeeded. So after this, it will create an app service plan, and then it will create a web app with a staging slot. So this takes a couple of minutes. So meanwhile you can view the portal. So we had only one resource group while starting of this application. So this resource group is being created from our partial script. So when you click on this resource group, you can see this. You have an app service plan created with this resource group. So our app service has been created. That's Azure partial node app, which I told you. So when I refresh this, a deployment slot should be created, and app service should be hosted to deployment slot. So it is in progress. Yeah, deployment slot has been created. And application will be hosted to the deployment slot. Then it will be swapped to the production slot. Still in progress. So I think it takes another minute, so it will be done. Well, I'll check whether this has deployed to staging application or not. So when I click this URL, and I can check that. Yeah, this is my application and my personal GitHub repository. So this has been deployed to a staging slot, and it should be swapped to the production slot. Once it is swapped to the production slot, then this particular thing will be not available here. So let's see, our partial script is running. Yeah, this has been done. You can see this also will be available in our app service. Yeah. Okay. So when I click this, okay, I think I had given initially for the production slot, then I've swapped it to the staging slot in my partial script. Okay, sorry for that. So this was one of the method for deploying from partial. So this was multiple ways of deploying web app to Azure. Okay, so this was a summary of what we did. We saw the cloud computing. We saw a few cloud providers and the cloud deployment method, cloud services, and under the app services we saw about a web app, and we deployed a web app through multiple ways. So anyone has any questions, you can ask me.
Sanat, you said that the repository, I mean, you said that the applications are deployed and like region wise, right? Like you selected the South India over here.
Yeah.
You mean the code base resides there, and my question is like, is the code base resides in that region so that you can fetch it faster? I believe it's so. Another question is like, how
Yeah.
is the security aspects of this been taken care? Like, because it's you're putting the code in the cloud, how secure is this?
So the first question you asked about, it is, yeah, where if our application needs to be accessed to the within India, we select the regions which is nearer to it so that it can be accessed faster. We can also do a geo replication of that with the feature available from Azure. So we can host our application in India as well as in London. So traffic manager takes care of that. So routing the traffic through India and through London. And security thing which asked us. So Microsoft is very strong in terms of its security, and because of that, few people are always scared to go through the public cloud. So when you take a banking sectors and insurance or financial sectors, so generally they don't go for a public cloud. They opt their own data center, that is private cloud, which can they be resided inside their premises, or they'll be behind the firewall and it provided a dedicated link for that. So hope I think I
Okay.
answered your question. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
So if no one has questions, we can wrap the session. So before this wrapping the session, let me give one of the tip. That's, if you want to pursue a certification in this, for a developer there is a certification called 7532. So whatever you saw, the fundamentals of this contribute to that certification for a 10% of that. So if you know the entire app service, I only targeted the web app in this session. If you are familiar with API apps, logic apps, and web apps, then that certification 25% of part will be completed from this. And the infrastructure team can concentrate on 7533 certificate, which is completely based on infrastructure management of Azure. Okay.
Cool.
Cool. So we'll wrap up this session then. If anyone has any questions, you can reach me through mail or Slack anytime. Thank you guys, thank you for joining.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sanat.
Thank you.
Thank you.